What's going on, y'all? Here we are again. Yet another episode 22. It is yours truly, J.H. Gibbons here.
As we'll see.
And welcome to yet another episode of the Acronis podcast. Wow. As I just said, episode 22, man. This is yet another week, another time to reach out to people, another time to build, another time to grow. And man, what a crazy week it has been. These past 2 weeks have been absolutely crazy. I am right now on my last set of sips of this monster here because my goodness, is it needed right now?
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Woo! How you feeling this week, man?
Ditto.
Yeah.
It really has been a strenuous grind. Preferably the way I like it. I feel much more productive and I grow from it, but a bit exhausted all the same.
Yeah. I'm exhausted myself, man. I'm just making sure that we get through this, that we push through this for you, and I'm also making sure that you're not as tired as we are. So that means that you can also hit that subscribe button on this page right now. You hit subscribe, you hit like, you share these videos, and it helps us. It helps us, man. And I know you always say this and you say it every single week. I'm never going to say it because I don't believe it's happening for us.
Well, allow me to reintroduce myself.
What's your name?
I'm Will C.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have something to say. So that little button that he's talking about, the subscribe button, guess what it does, guys? It allows you to help us reach others, just as Jay said. But dig this, you're gonna love this part. See, he's still having trouble trying to process this, but
it's unbelievable.
See that button that's down there? You hit it. It's free. It's free. It says subscribe, but it really just means free.
I thought this was America.
I mean, it's free, right? So
free in America.
How is the land of the free? So this is, with that being said, hey, that button right there is not only free to hit, it will allow you to subscribe freely to our content so that you get it first as soon as it drops. And spread that joy, share that information with everyone that you know that you feel as though can use some good gems dropped into their life. Yeah. So again, it's free, guys. Let's get those subscriptions up. Let's reach more people because we know we have a lot of folks that are watching. So we know you're watching. So let's continue to grow this community. And that part of it is free.
Yes. And if you've been with us, thank you once again for joining us on this magnificent Sunday. If this is your first time, ACHROMOUS is going to change your life today. Wow.
Yes.
Oh my God. So you know what? Like just thinking about last week, and if you weren't here with us last week, you would not know that we covered the art of action, getting things done consistently.
Yes.
But if you were, and you were able to get things done consistently, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what action you took last week that you have not ever taken or ever thought of taking. And we want you to DM us, message us, DM us, hit us up on here with any sort of comment that you provide to us. We will make sure that the community sees it. So this is yet another way that we can reach out to you and you can reach out to us. We're all growing in this together. We're all building together. And once again, it's
free. I got you, Jay. Don't worry. I got you. It's free, guys.
All right.
So man, help you get past that. Let's talk a little bit about that 21-3 method.
Oh my God.
We did kind of touch base on that last week too.
Yeah. Now this is something I can get into.
All right.
This is something that I'm like, yes, I love it. So the great news is I am literally one day away from finishing the practical guide that is going to change the lives of anybody who's watching this video. And I'll tell you why. Have you had a habit that you tried to build years ago, weeks ago, months ago, whenever you tried, and it just didn't stick? For whatever reason, it just didn't stick that time or any of the thousands of other times that you tried to make it stick. I've got something for you. This 21-3 method takes a journey with this man next to me. 21 days he took to build a habit that has now transformed him into the man that you see here now. Ladies and gentlemen, 213method.com/home will take you directly into this man's story for an opportunity for you to read one of the most in-depth, honest, practical guides that are on the market today. January 1st, 2022, do not miss it. That is the perfect time, right? You got your New Year's resolution. Here is a resolution for you. Here is a solution to the problems that you may have when it comes to building sustainable healthy habits. Man, I cannot wait for you to get it because I know it will change your life as it has changed his, as it's changing mine. This is a method that you want to get in on, that you want to be a part of. And oh my goodness, January 1st, 2022, the beginning of a new year, a new life, a new you.
Absolutely.
Wait for it. It's
Absolutely.
coming. It's coming.
Well said, Jay. I say, oh, you really did.
I'm so excited.
Get behind that. You're very eager to let that out. So how did you feel? Because I think it fits perfectly going into our topic for this week, where maintaining that emotional maturity through the process after everything you've endured throughout the week, and leading up to now.
Yeah.
And we were able to decompress a bit and just kind of coast with this.
Well, I mean, look, there are many times this week where I could have been very emotionally immature, where I could have lashed out. I could have been quick to act and not quick to really think things through. Where I could have exploded. But instead, I didn't. I don't want to say I reverted back into myself, but I took time for myself. I centered myself. I understood what was going on around me.
Okay.
And that sort of awareness helped me get through some of the toughest times that I've had this week. And I think when we're trying to define what emotional maturity is and what it isn't, I think it is important to use real life and real world examples, real time examples, as we do on the Acromas podcast, so that people can understand exactly what it looks like for us and what it may look like for them. So for me, it was a litany of emails, of course, emails, right? I mean, you all receive them. If you work day jobs and night jobs or whatever you do for a living, you receive emails. Some of them aren't the best. Some of them aren't the most pretty to receive, and you may not be receptive to the content in those emails. And you may want to explode. In fact, I think if I wasn't in that sort of space of emotional maturity, I would have responded inappropriately. It could have lost my job. It could have cost me time, could have cost me a business relationship. But instead, I was able to take the time. I was able to dissect what I saw in the email and approach it from a different perspective. And what I got back was a much better response. We were able to get on the phone. We were able to walk through it. So I understood their concerns. They understood mine. And then from that, we both grew. So instead of turning my back on a situation or frantically getting upset or losing my mind or my patience or my sanity, I allowed myself to take a step back, take a deep breath, think through the situation, and then return with a solution that was beneficial for both of us. So that's how I was able to handle that specific task at work, that specific issue. There was an issue there, a solution was provided, and now all parties are happy. So I mean, taking that into account with certain situations that people have been in that they have had troubles finding a balance or finding an opportunity to handle something maturely. Do you think that with emotional maturity, you need the type of experience that maybe I've had or you've had? Or do you think it's just developed over time without experience necessary? Do you think do you think it happens as we grow older, but not be put in certain scenarios to show emotional maturity? Do you think it comes with age? Do you think it comes with experience? How do you think someone in our audience could develop emotional maturity?
To be quite frank, I don't think it's as cliche as an age. to attaining wisdom.
So maturity has no age.
No, it's experience. And the reality of it is that we experience all the time. We grow all the time, albeit if it's something that's beneficial to our development and our thought process and how we do things, or detrimental. It's a process of growth one way or the other, preferably in a way that is going to allow you to really be your best self. In this particular subject, I would have to say, again, experience is something that is, constant.
Okay.
Like you're gonna always go through life events, as I like to call them, and your outlook may be redefined by your approach to the issue that you're encountering. And in doing so, it should allow you to begin to develop tools to help you process these things that you may find yourself going through.
Sure.
And in some cases, you may have another instance of something that's similar to what you have went through before.
Right.
So how you approach that second time may be a little bit different than someone who had maybe endured something the first. So I'll give you an example.
Good.
Okay. If you're an athlete, let's say like you're a fighter, right? Personally, for me, I've always been in that realm of kind of like physical competitiveness and just nothing professional. A little bit of amateur here, there, work and boxing and whatnot. But like just the idea and the concept of what that represents is growth, right? So, emotional maturity would require all of you and all of your being to discipline yourself enough so that you recognize what's happening at all times through that process, right? Like the direction you're headed on this growth, right? Where so it's like if you're putting in work in the gym,
sure,
you're grinding, you will get better with time. But for you, not for someone else, because you don't want to truly make a comparison to someone else that they just may operate genetically different.
Yeah, exactly.
And
genetics is a big thing when it comes to lifting or exercising or just people in general. I mean, I ran into people that are just born strong. There's a quick example. There was a guy that we were kids in middle school. His name's Delano. Shout out to Delano. But he was just it just looked like he was created from a lab. I mean, this guy back in 6th or 7th grade, he already had the veins, the muscles, the speed. He was just a natural athlete. So I think that's a perfect example. Like I couldn't look at him and be like, well, I'm gonna be him if I do XYZ. He was just already who he was. I mean, he came out the womb with muscles. So, there's nothing I could do to get to that level. But for myself, I knew what I had to do to be strong for myself, based on my size, based on my upbringing, based on my own strength. But I didn't want to compare it with somebody else who I knew I just didn't necessarily have a chance to get up to. And that took some emotional maturity.
Exactly. So tie that in to this part, right? So go with me. In that line of what we see, right? In that line of competitiveness,
sure.
And, we both experience what that's like. Why I focus so much on growth of it through your emotional maturity is because you will have those times where you are successful, and you're gonna have those times where things don't necessarily go your way. How you deal with it, how you go about it is truly the difference maker, right? Because you're in a training camp, you have an upcoming fight, and if you go in there and you're putting your all into it, you increase your chance for success to get the results you're looking for.
Sure.
That doesn't always equal that. But again, emotional maturity, the tools you develop along the way through your training should help to prepare you for what, regardless of what the outcome is, because it's an experience that you will have learned from one way or the other. If you go in and you have stepping and you're not really putting all your effort in, and let's say you go in and you don't do so great, that's a reality check for you. That's a time for you to adjust whatever tactics and things you have been working on. But again, it plays back to your emotional maturity.
Mm,
Even if you go in and let's say you weren't doing those things and
mm,
you get the results that you were hoping to achieve,
right.
prolonging the process of it, you will have to face the emotional maturity and at some point because you will run up against something that's
Mm,
gonna be an extremely traumatic experience through
mm.
that process because you weren't developing the tools that you needed to
So
be prepared
it's
for that.
humbling. It's humbling.
Yes.
Mm,
And that humble
mm.
pie sometimes has not the best flavor.
It makes or breaks some. I mean, I know
Yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but I know there was a tremendous female athlete in the UFC. She was
Mm,
dominant. She was strong. She was fierce. She was well represented, not just in the company, but in the world. Came in
mm,
movies, all sorts of things. But it was the minute she got knocked out, she was never the same again, both in the ring and outside of it. It's like her getting knocked out took a piece away from her. It do you think in that scenario she was missing, or she was too emotionally immature to handle taking that L? Like it's kind of tough to see it from the beginning because you see when she's going to the ring, man, she's ready. She, you know what I'm saying, she's knocking people out early. She's making people tap out early. She's breaking all kinds of records. She's on top of the world. But the moment she's faced with that type of adversity, where it's like, okay, I got my clock clean, I now have to come back and be able to hold my own with the humbleness that I just took. Do you do you think that do you think that she exhibited emotional immaturity earlier on in her career?
Um, I think it probably goes deeper than that.
Mm,
Honestly, I mean, we'd have to assess not necessarily what took place during that aspect of this person's career, but what led up from childhood, what led
mm,
up from their experiences. With I'm sure a lot of people by now should know who's being referenced enough,
right.
where it's like I can understand certain parts of it where it was a certain kind of drive, not necessarily saying this person didn't apply themselves and didn't push as hard as they
Right.
could.
No, she did for
They
sure.
built the habits that they did to get them to where they were,
Mhm.
but along the way, the right type of support system you have that's going to give you the honesty that you need at all times
Mm,
to help you along the process with developing your emotional maturity, where clearly
mhm.
there's some things and issues that you're still working through.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that from a judgmental perspective on that individual.
Right, right,
I,
for
I
sure.
just mean that there was clearly some things that you see where this person is working through their insecurities
Mm.
with life and certain events and traumas that they had endured.
So do you think failure is necessary?
I think failure was such a fear for that person that when
Mm,
the idea of losing and what it
mm,
represented meant failure to them, and it
mhm,
wasn't something that they could resonate with, which made it hard to
mm,
accept. But I do think that if the concept of what that looked like under proper emotional maturity, stability, and
mhm,
development,
mhm,
rather than look at that as being a true sense of loss, is
mhm,
learning. And
mm.
that's what I apply to my life personally,
Sure.
where I don't believe in the idea of taking L's.
Mm,
I learn through those process. And yes, it is theoretically an ass kicking at times as we go through them,
right.
but you learn through those experiences and you should be better for them for the
Mm,
most part because you're taking something out of it. Where, for example, if I turn the stove off, and no one
mhm.
does this, please don't do it. Turn the stove on, the heater on the stove is hot,
Yeah, don't do that.
I put my hand on it. I should know probably not to do that at this
Mm,
point in my life and my
right.
age from my development. But
Mhm,
let's just say for whatever reason, I exert pain through myself as a form of how I tolerate emotional maturity from my experiences that I'm going through. And I
mm.
decide to do that as an option, right?
Okay.
So now I done burnt myself. Look at my hand. I got this
Mm,
mark I got to deal with for the rest of my life.
mm.
What have I learned from that? Why did I need to do that? And the reality of it is, did I learn my lesson enough to not do that again?
Mm.
Right? you know, because of whatever I had up that point, because, you know, in most cases, you just take it to the next step, depending on where your emotional maturity is. And it elevates one way or the other, where as you grow with emotional maturity and, you know, you mature to a point that you allow yourself to be calm, you be quick to think, but slow to respond. And everything you do becomes meticulous to the point that it's chess, not checkers. That is a certain level of growth that I would hope most would like to attain. That's what I project. That's what I aim for, to stay calm, cool, collected, even in the most dire of circumstances. And that's what I would hope to do. But there are cases where folks don't do that.
Right.
So I think it goes back to being honest with yourself so that you can properly build the habits that you need.
Okay.
Reassess what those habits are currently, if it's not fitting who you are today,
Sure,
so that you can make the necessary adjustments as you move through life. Because again, age has nothing to do with it. It's about the experiences that you develop, which ultimately is the wisdom that you've gained through time, where you can share those tools and those tactics with others who you may see are struggling and having a difficult time with emotional maturity. And dig this, in most cases, those folks may be watching you already. They're not going to say it, but they are taking notes. Like when you go to the gym, like we were talking earlier, you go to the gym, people are watching.
People always watch.
They're watching. They may not come up and ask, but they're watching. They're looking at the form. They're seeing what you're doing, and you know, they're learning. So for me,
well, if I would say if they are emotionally mature, they may be learning. If they aren't, they may be hating.
That's okay. That's another route. That's another route. That's another coming there.
Might be some jealousy.
Why are you coming in?
Coming and doing
why
this?
Are you flexing?
Like, why? Come on. Oh yeah, that's bad. Like, what are you doing? You shouldn't. You don't even need to lift that heavy. Oh, he's probably on steroids. Oh, he's probably he's probably juicing up. I'll never be that strong, but
So is that more of a defense mechanism to which is preventing the growth of their emotional maturity?
Yeah, and I think sometimes they don't even recognize that that's what they're doing. They're limiting themselves. They're holding themselves back because of the fear of failing.
Okay.
They don't want to acknowledge that weakness that they have in order to find growth. If that was me, I would walk up to them. I would say, man, teach me your ways. How did you get that way? How are you now benching 405 pounds or however much, 495, which is 5 plates on each side? How did you get there? Like, that's what I would do. But if somebody else were to see it, and then they start commenting on form, or they start commenting, well, this person's on steroids or all these other things, I think immediately their mind goes to, I will never be able to do that, so they should not be able to either. Because I'm not physically strong enough to do it. I never will be. And since I'm not, nobody else should be able to. If they are doing it, they're cheating somehow.
Ooh, okay. So, I like this. So, what do you do if you're someone in that moment where you catch yourself doing that and you recognize it, and you say to yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way, and what can I do about it? So Jay, how at that point would you think about the tools that you want to develop to help you through this emotional maturity point that's going to require growth, again, one way or the other? You're at this point when see, it's different when you like are oblivious to what's happening, and when you recognize it, because then accountability comes in.
Yeah, I think when you recognize it, that's the next step. I think the next step is recognize, because like I said, some people, they do. I mean, you see it on IG, you see it in person, like you see all the comments, you hear them, and it's like they themselves don't know that they're doing it. But I think if for whatever reason I acknowledge it somehow, if I say what I say in my mind, but then I get to the car and I'm like, man, I wish one day I could squat that much. Man, maybe next time I see that person, I approach them. Maybe I ask them for tips, or maybe I apply some self-deprecating humor. Maybe I'm like, man, my stick legs can't lift with your lifting, right? And then they start laughing, like, man, it takes time, it's because typically, in my experience, that's what I've seen. Like, if I were to go up to somebody who's much stronger than me, right, they typically are some of the most humblest people in the gym, because they knew how long it took to get where they are, and they take an immense amount of pride to be able to lift what they're lifting. And there's some emotional maturity there because that didn't happen overnight.
Mhm.
So at some point they had to fail, right? At some point they were deadlifting 405 pounds and they couldn't do it, right? And then a month later they're doing 5 reps. Another 3-4 months later they're doing 10 reps with these, and they're continuing to climb. So as you're climbing, each and every time you're failing before you get to that next level. So I think what they were developing was emotional maturity, because one or two things could have happened. They could have either stopped at that 4 or 5 and said, well, I'm just not going to do it. I'm a failure. I'm not strong enough. Look at those other guys, whatever. They're taking steroids. Like that for them limits themselves. They're like, well, I will never, they're saying themselves that they will never be able to do that.
Yeah.
So immediately their subconscious is like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. Right. Because your subconscious is listening. Like whether you're saying you can or can't, you're right. That's what your subconscious is like.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Even though you probably could, your subconscious is like, yep, okay, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's much. I think when you get to that point where you're like, you know, and I think it just takes time. Like it takes time to realize that what you're doing is hurting you and not helping you. So back to the example of somebody squatting, like that's how I would approach it. I would have some sort of joke to say about it, and then I would ask for some advice. And once I get that advice, I then start applying what that person is saying. I may ask for some more tips. I might get him to squat me, to look at my form, make sure I'm doing it, so that now I am growing. And even though as I continue to gain, put more and more weights on each side, I will fail. No doubt I will. But that failure will then make me stronger because my emotional maturity has improved.
Yeah.
But I think it's just recognizing that that's what's going on. And a lot of people, whether it's insecurities or just how they were brought up, it's tough for some of them to recognize it. I think it's just like with any other habit that you have. I think the first step is recognizing that something is wrong.
So would you say again, I guess, like how with your approach, in order to even get to that point, to have the humility within yourself to recognize where this person is, that that may be levels above from their experience and effort, what they've put in, and being able to go to this person and discuss these things with them. Would you say it would have taken for you to recognize where you are in your emotional maturity, to step out of your own way so that you can get what you're seeking to continue your growth?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you can grow without doing that. I think you have to recognize what's stopping you, and typically it's yourself.
Yes.
And you have to be able to understand that. You have to be able to take the time and assess certain situations, assess where you are in your fitness journey, and understand that it'll take time for you to get to a certain point. But I think what happens when people initially come out and say they can't do something, what they're telling themselves is that they're literally limiting themselves from success. They're willingly avoiding themselves, or avoiding success by saying those things. So I think, yeah, I don't think there's a way in order for anybody to improve or to grow unless they recognize that they themselves are stopping themselves. I think with all that, it comes with practice. It comes with building habits, that in this case, if it is fitness related, those little mini milestones, right? Okay, I'm going to purposefully increase the weight by 5 or 10 pounds a week until I hit a wall. Then once I hit that wall, I reevaluate my regimen. I may add in different exercises, take away different exercises, try a new method in order to get over that plateau. But all of that takes emotional maturity each and every step of the way, because with that, there's patience.
Okay.
There's an ability to stand back and really evaluate yourself with honesty and truthfulness, and knowing where you are, I think, is very important. So I think the way that people can start getting to that point is to realize that there's something, which is themselves, that is being put in your way to stop you.
I think that's well said. I think that's really well put. Um, I think all of that, to our audience,
Mm,
and everyone that's with us. I think those are some really good methods and some. If you aren't currently applying this
mm,
and you are seeking emotional maturity, which is a variation of things and different aspects of life that you
right,
go
right.
through, not necessarily primarily a temper issue, as most people always think.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? That's not always exactly the main. It is one of the main factors when it
right,
comes
right,
up when you
right.
think of emotional maturity, but
Mm,
uh, I would say assess other areas of your life,
mm,
where I'm sure it's not too difficult to think of at least one thing where you can take some of these gems that
mm,
we've shared and apply that to your situations,
mm,
and just kind of prep yourself in a way so that if you have something or a particular event that you may end up encountering again, where you may have a chance to apply some of this,
right.
see how that goes. Like again, being honest with yourself first,
Mm,
embracing that humility so that you can be your true best self and
mm.
grow.
Growing is always hard.
Oh yeah, but it's worth everything.
It absolutely
It's
is.
worth everything because in
Growing.
truth, the way I see it is with growth and the effort that it requires, and as you're doing it, in most cases, you aren't even the first person to truly recognize your own growth. It's
Mm,
those around you that
that's very
notice.
true.
It's everyone around
That's
you.
very
It's was
true.
why it's so important
Mm.
that your inner circle is filled with people who are for you, because they
Yeah.
will help you to properly identify the direction you are headed
Yep.
into. And in this particular subject, that's really big
Mm. It's
because it's
huge.
all the difference in the direction and path you choose in your life.
Yep.
So I think what we've shared, Jay,
Mm.
is really good, insightful experiences,
Yep.
scenarios, and just facts of like life and what happens when you are properly developing your emotional maturity barrier, and what may happen in the event that you are lacking in that area.
Mm.
And now you are accountable because now you watched this
Mm.
with us. So before this, if you didn't get that part and you
Mm.
at this point in the episode, you are accountable for this. But guess
Yep.
what? You're not by yourself.
Nope.
You have Jay, you have me, you have the Chromas community, and you know that you can always reach out to us if you're
Mm.
inquiring more information about what we're discussing on this particular topic, as
Yep.
well as other things, but
Absolutely.
things that you are looking for and maybe seeking some more additional advice for people who aren't afraid to embrace that part and are constantly doing the work to
Yep.
maintain, sustain, and to grow and
Mm.
develop our emotional maturity in a direction that's best for us and
Yeah.
those around us.
And I mean, look, now it's the time for you to embrace that emotional maturity and what that may look like. I want you guys out there, name a time when you were emotionally immature and tell us exactly how you grew from it.
Mm,
It could be a
mm,
scenario when you were younger, it could be something that happened this week. Whatever that scenario is, I want you to realize that you were emotionally immature in a scenario, and then explain what you did to grow from that, so that that particular scenario didn't happen again,
mhm,
and others that were coming, you were able to handle accordingly because you improved your emotional maturity.
mm,
So I think that action item that we are asking you to take will not only help you realize how a lot of these habits are built, even from even subconsciously, because sometimes you don't know that they're there until you take the time and you realize that, man, I'm doing something wrong by hating on somebody, or by putting myself down, by putting up barriers because I feel inferior for whatever reason. I feel like I don't belong. I feel like I don't love myself enough. I feel all these different feelings that are coming up. These will help you grow to a point where you become emotionally mature. And I mean, I honestly, if you have a world full of emotionally mature human beings, some of the things that occur now, in terms of like violence within the streets, or um, tumultuous relationships, bad endings to friendships, road rage. I mean, it can go on and on.
Yeah.
There's so many different aspects of where emotional maturity comes into play. That if we were to have a society that had more emotionally mature people, we would have a much safer, a much progressive, a much more a society that was built strictly on growth, and that's what we want to see. That's why we are the ACHROMOUS community. So it's very important that you take the time out to not only just listen to this podcast wherever you are, whether you're in the house, you're in your room, you're in the shower, you're driving, wherever you are in the world this Sunday. Number one, we want to thank you. We also want to say that if you have not joined us before, that is fine. We're not going to hold it against you. This is your first time, and we thank you for tuning in on the 22nd episode of the Acronis podcast. But if you were here before and you are still not following, you have still not subscribed, you have still not liked, you have still not shared anything that we have, we're going to give you yet another opportunity to do so. ACHROMOUS. We are on Spotify. We are on Facebook. We are on IG. And most importantly, we are on YouTube. You hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button, that share. If you love our content, if you don't love our content, quite frankly, there's something wrong with you, but I still want you to share. I want you to share this because I want you to show other people what they are missing here. They're missing some gems. They're missing honest content based on experience to help out our community, which we deem of the utmost importance.
Hey, did you guys notice how Jay just, showed his emotional maturity through that process? Did you guys catch that?
Stuff.
Yeah.
It took a lot of practice.
Yeah.
It took a lot of practice.
Yeah. But see, he left one part out that I have to make sure I have to say. So let's see how far he's come along since from the beginning of this episode to now with the emotional maturity on display. He did bring up a very valid point as it related to YouTube in particular, and there's a subscribe button on there. See that button down there? I mentioned it a little earlier. That button right there. You hit that subscribe button, and guess what, guys? You get our content for free.
Oh,
you get to see us for free.
I'm not ready for that.
So, it's okay. See, this is why it's a work in progress. So he's not losing right now. He's learning. So let's educate him again on that. That button is free content, is what it is. So you hit it. Bro. Yes, that means that they get to, again,
for free.
Yeah, they get to hear our content, anything that we have that we put on YouTube, such as this gem of an episode, will be provided to you. You will get first dibs. And in doing so, spread the news, spread that joy, guys. Let's get it out there. Let's spread it to everyone else, on such a joyous day and occasion, because we didn't mention this, but we want to go ahead and say congratulations and thank you to all the fathers out there today. We didn't forget you. Want to make sure that we let you know that we appreciate you and all the efforts that you put in and the emotional maturity that you've shown and what it takes to be a man and to be a father. We appreciate you.
Wow. That's big. That's pretty big. Look, we've kind of been in this industry for a while now. I mean, you would call us experts, if you will, because of our experience and what we've been able to do to help others.
Yeah.
But man, it's tough because we sometimes have to fight an uphill battle. Now, if you are familiar with our industry, those out there that aren't too fond of self-help or personal development or self-development, whatever you want to call it, we understand why. There are a lot of people in this industry that are looking for a quick buck. They're looking to make a name for themselves, but they're not looking to put content out that is truly going to help somebody. This is why there's so many repeat buyers in the self-help industry, whether it's books, courses, DVDs, retreats, whatever it is. I mean, if somebody is coming to the same retreat every single year to go over the same information, there's something missing, right? Yes. I mean, the information hasn't changed, but that also means you haven't. I mean, so that is exactly why we take the self-help industry seriously. This is why we promote what we promote, why we put out what we put out, and the way that we put it out comes with honesty. We always tell you that this is going to be hard. We always tell you that this is going to take time. We are always quick to say that it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of emotional maturity.
Yes.
It takes taking action every single day, getting things done consistently. It takes all of those things to even get to where we are now. Right now, where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, just to get where we are now, it takes all of that energy.
Yes.
Right now, I mean, it's crazy the type of week that we both had. We are drained. I mean, that's why we're surrounded by monsters and water. Because it's hard. It's very difficult. So what we want to do next Sunday is we want to discuss the flaws of the self-help industry. And we want to bring about true methods that are sustainable, that will literally help improve you. I mean, I cannot believe we are giving this away. I really the things that we're going to talk about next week deserve to be in a book that sells for $1,000. Straight
Very
like
true.
that.
Yeah.
Straight like that. The things that we're going to talk about next week cannot be found online because they're not discussed online within our industry, because these are secrets that nobody wants to tell people about, because they get paid based on people who are coming back, right? Whether they are new customers or repeat customers. A lot of the people in this industry continue to buy different self-help books, continue to buy different self-help courses, and they're not literally helping themselves, right? It's in the name, right? Self-help, right? Help yourself. But they're not able to do that. And we're going to explore why, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. I mean, honestly, like next week's episode could be a book. And it should be for sale. I'm just saying, if you miss next week, if you do not watch next week's video at all, you are going to miss out on an opportunity of a lifetime, because I got to tell you, the secrets of this industry are known by those who are in it.
Absolutely.
And they do not want to let you know, because they want you to keep coming back. They want you to keep buying their books. They want you to keep going through their seminars, and they keep giving the same types of speeches. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Right. My whole thing is, if you come to us and we do our job, we should never hear from you again. Unless you're coming back to say something like, man, you guys changed my life. I love you guys. I respect you guys. Right? Like, those are the ones that I believe should be coming back. But if the person is coming back with the same issues, that means we're doing something wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that for sure. I do agree with that in the way that, like, we gotta apply the right process. So, with that being said, I'm pretty confident they'll be here next week. They better bring some friends too, guys. Bring your friends. Have them subscribe on YouTube.
Yep.
Hit that free content button that we're going to deliver the information to you. So when we're ready to go and we're launching and giving this information, you get it first, and they will too. Just that easy.
Say that word. I can't even say that. I can't even say that word. Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, look, enjoy your week. It's another week. Praise God. Blessings to you. Blessings to your family. Blessings if you took time to watch this. Blessings if you subscribed, if you liked, if you shared. And if you didn't, there's still time.
Absolutely.
Until next Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, I am J.H. Gibbons.
And we'll see.
Peace.